Hi, and welcome to That's Ready Mysterious. Join me for an intriguing look into real-life mysteries. Who was the mad gasser of Mattoon? What was whaling at the Wilga waterhole? I'm not going to solve those mysteries, but they'll be interesting to learn about. I'm your host, Kelly with an I. Transcripts and references for all episodes can be found at that'sreadymysterious.wordpress.com. No apostrophe and no exclamation point. Today's tale is about the Gedi Ruins. The Gedi Ruins are in Kenya. They're located near the Indian Ocean, deep within a lush forest, the Araboko-Sokok Forest. They're just about 94 kilometers, around 60 miles north of Mombasa, and about 16 kilometers, or 10 miles south of Malindi. The ruins are just north of the small beach town of Watumu, Kenya. They are in Kenya's Kilifi country. The ruins are spread out over a large area of about 45 acres. The town has two walls around it. It's believed the rich lived within the inner walls, and the middle class lived within the outer wall, and the peasants and other poorer people lived outside the walls. Within the outer wall, mud-thatched homes can be found. Within the inner wall, more homes and mosques can be seen. It seems clear from the archaeological evidence that the city was divided by class. The Gedi ruins prove that Africa wasn't just a continent of wild tribes back in the 13th century. The site was rediscovered by the British in the early 1920s. In 1927, the process began to declare the site a national monument. In 1929, it was declared a protected monument. In the 1930s, the Public Works Department of Kenya government repaired some of the buildings that were in danger of collapse. Excavations of the site began in 1948. It's believed that the town was established in the 13th century, but there is no hard evidence of this. The ruins are the leftovers of a mysterious medieval Swahili civilization built from stone. Still standing today are some coral brick houses, a palace, a very impressive mosque, a fort, and tombs built using Swahili-style architecture. The buildings were mostly built of plaster, earth, and corals. The ruins represent the leftovers of a mysterious medieval Swahili civilization built from stone. Some items were found inside the ruins. These include things such as Ming Chinese vases, Venetian glass beads, Islamic pottery, Spanish scissors, and other artifacts from around the world. These items are evidence that the society traded with other cultures around the world, including places like China, the Near East, Arabia, India, and Southeast Asia. Strangely, despite the evidence of wide trade, there is no written records of Gedi found before the 20th century when it was rediscovered by the British. Even more strange is that the ruins sit in a remote forest location, more than 5 kilometers, or a little over 3 miles, from a coast with bad anchorages. This was not practical for traders from across the ocean, yet still Gedi remained a hub of cross-continental trade. As a hub of Swahili trade, Gedi most likely exported gold, ivory, ebony, mangrove poles, copper, copal gum, frankincense, myrrh, crystal rocks, and slaves. Not much is known about the slave trade in Gedi, but anecdotal evidence and lore point to slave trade being a part of the economy during the 18th century. Local people talk about caves near the ruins where slaves were held before being sold, and of tunnels used for transporting the slaves. The economy also most likely ran on a mix of livestock, agriculture, and horticultural production. The advanced nature of the society that lived in Gedi is also strange. The city had streets, running water, flushing toilets, sewage systems, safe rooms, and was built formally in a grid fashion. It seems that at one time the city had a population of 2,500 people and that the city thrived between the 13th and 17th centuries. The oldest ruins at Gedi date to between 1041 and 1278, with many structures being built in the 15th century. This expanding is evidence that there was an influx of new people from the surrounding villages and towns. The ruins show what life and culture was like in the 13th century in Africa. They give insight into the economy, architecture, ways of life, social structure, and other aspects of ancient African civilizations. The history and architecture of the city look like it was intertwined with other Swahili states of Africa at its time, namely the Songo Mara and Kilwa Kizwani of Tanzania. The three mosques built in the north of the city show the adoption of Islam by the inhabitants that likely occurred in the 12th century. The quality of the ruins is not the only mystery. There are some questions as to not only when Gedi was built, but more so what caused the city to be abandoned. There was an unexplained mass exodus of the city in the 17th century, and historians still debate why. Some evidence suggests the city was abandoned partially because of pressure from the Portuguese. They would have threatened trade and led attacks on the city. There's also some evidence that the city was threatened by the Gala, a hostile nomadic group from Ethiopia. The Wazimba raids along the East African coast in 1589 might have also contributed to the abandonment of the city. The removal of Sheikh Malindi in 1539 may have also played a part in the city being abandoned. Other contributing factors might include raids from neighboring communities, Portuguese conflicts in neighboring states of Malini and Mombasa, and a drop in the water table. There is a 50 meters, or about 164 feet deep well outside the mosque known as the Well of the Great Mosque. This well has an impressive design and was probably used for ceremonial baths. There are signs it was deepened at some point, which may be because the residents were having trouble getting water. Could this be one of the reasons the city was abandoned? Near the 15th century palace, there are some chambers that can be accessed only by trapdoors. These chambers were most likely used to store wealth. Today, the site is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It has at least 50 species of indigenous plants. The whole area is covered by deciduous forest types of plants. The area does receive enough water, getting about 1,100 millimeters, or a little over 43 inches of rain a year. Today, a lot of the remaining grid system and the remains of walls and various buildings can be seen at the ruins. The city is covered in mysticism. There are whispers from locals about ancestral spirits at Gedi. Many people believe the city is protected by the former religious leaders of the city. Some local stories say spirits will curse anyone who hurts the site. Some say they've heard unexplained sounds coming from the ruins. The ruins can be visited either with or without a guide. Admission to the ruins does not include a guide. When was Gedi built? Why was such an advanced city abandoned? What do you think? Leave a comment and let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to today's episode of That's Ready Mysterious. Join me next week for another captivating mystery.